Alright, so we've got a pergola that we're about to build in this backyard, and I'm going to take you through the entire carpentry side of this job and show you what we do. Now obviously the first thing we're going to do is set up our string lines and work out where this pergola is going to go. I set the camera up the wrong way here, but what I've done is gone parallel with an existing deck, and we've just squared off the string line, gone parallel off the string line to get the perimeter of where the pergola is going to be. So the clients do have a plan to get rid of most of this grass here and cover it with pavers. It's going to have to happen anyway, because once we build the pergola over this, it's going to be limited with natural light, meaning most of that grass will die anyway. Even with this in mind, I still didn't want to dig these holes and just throw the dirt all over the backyard. It does look quite neat right now, so I want to keep it that way because I'm not sure how long it will be until this backyard does get transformed. So my plan is to get a lot of this mulch loaded in the wheelbarrow, and when I'm digging the hole, I'm going to put all the loose dirt in this garden bed. I'm going to move all this mulch around eventually, and what we'll do is just evenly distribute the dirt over this garden bed around the tree, and then put the mulch back on top so it does look neat in this corner. And doing it this way keeps the client's backyard nice and clean until they do get around to doing the pavers. So we do have 4 holes for this pergola. We're going to make them quite big as well. They're going to be 500 by 500 wide and 800 deep. The reason they're so big is because we are going to be sitting the post in these holes in the ground. It's not going to be a concrete footing with a stirrup, but the posts are going to go all the way in, which has some pros and cons. Obviously the first pro is it's going to be great for stability. It's going to be a really strong post for the pergola, and obviously a big con straight away though is that you're going to have timber sitting in the ground. Even though this timber is designed to be sitting in the ground and have contact with the ground, when we come to put them in, we're still going to coat it with some bitumen paint, which is an extra seal over the timber, which should block any moisture in the ground from going into the timber and rotting it out. So the holes are dug and the delivery truck rocked up, but it actually had all the timber, everything we needed, apart from the post. The only timber we actually need for today. So the timber yard sent another truck out just for the post. And luckily the post came with enough time so we could do 2 coats of this bitumen paint to seal it properly. And we also went through and put 2 threaded rods in the bottom of each post to strengthen the connection even more between the post and the concrete and help stabilize those posts once the concrete sets. Now we still had a bit of time before the concrete truck came, and to make our lives even easier, we decided to set up all the posts and have them all plumb ready to go before the concrete gets here. You can see we've got these little timbers at the bottom, and they're to hold the post at the right height against the ground. So this way the post will sit at the right height, and there's still some clearance from the bottom of the post and the bottom of the hole. So the concrete will still go underneath the hole and act as a footing below the post. And we went through and set up all 4 posts, making sure that they're good with the string lines and continuously check them with the level. And we ran these temp supports going around to lock it all into place. Doing this setup made the concrete process so much easier. Mitcho pushed barrows for us and brought it in around the back. And while he was emptying the barrow, I just helped get the concrete into the hole and just made sure we didn't knock the post as we did this. We just went through and did 1 wheelbarrow of concrete into each post hole. And from there I could just double check everything, make sure that we're still plumb, that we had parallel measurements between the posts as well. And then after making sure everything was good, we just continued going through and filling in all these holes. Alright, so the posts are in. We're going to leave the concrete to set now, and we're actually going to come back after the weekend to continue work on this job. The posts are in, concrete's set now, and we're going to jump straight into doing these checkouts and working out the heights for this pergola. So the way we're building this pergola is we're going to make it a flat roof and then do graded battens on the top. As you can see, we're putting this wailing piece up against the brickwork here, and this is the reason that the clients wanted this pergola to be built flat. So if we built this pergola having full on the rafters, this beam's going to be flush with the brick, flush with the window on one edge, and on the other edge it's going to be sticking up over 100 mil, and it's going to look a little bit funny from below. So that's why we're going to be building this all level, and we'll worry about the battens at the end. And that makes it so much easier for us as well, because we can just set up the datum laser level and just get a laser point on all of these posts and start doing the checkouts from there. We actually got lucky today. It was originally just meant to be Mitch and myself going through and trying to finish off all of the carpentry involved in this pergola today. But a couple of the boys were at a different job and the materials didn't come in time, so they did jump over to give us a hand. To start with, I actually thought 4 people might start getting in the way and that wouldn't be enough to do. But it actually worked quite well, especially when we move over to the next part of the job and we start installing the rafters. So since the frame is going to be exposed, we're not just going to go 900 centimeters for our rafters. We'll obviously do an overall measurement and divide them equally so that they've got the same amount of space as the whole way through. We actually got pretty close to 900 anyway, and we had 893 centers going the whole way through. The way we're installing these rafters is we're not actually using any joist hangers or triple grips or any visible hardware from the inside of the pergola. We're just going to be shooting them on and then going through with triple 150mm bugle screws and screwing in from the face beam into those rafters. Now these screws are definitely strong enough to hold the structure in place. They definitely do more than enough. Personally, if it was my own job though, it's not going to look as nice having a joist hanger there, but I'll always put a joist hanger in it. They don't look as good, but I just love over-engineering the hell out of everything I do, making sure that it will stand the test of time. In saying that though, it's probably going to be a little bit over the top if we did also add a joist hanger, because these triple bugle screws will definitely hold these in place. Now we did really utilise having the 4 people on site to do this as well. We could get 2 of the boys in the middle, lifting the rafter up into where it needs to be, and then I can just stand on the outside and we could really line up our screw holes, line up our nails, and make sure we're not skewing out on the inside. You may have noticed that while we've been putting up some of these rafters, there's been a very small amount of movement in this pergola. So that leads us into the next part of the job that we want to do to start bracing this. So we got some hoop iron and we're just going to be running 2 big crosses on the top of this pergola. And these 2 cross braces should be enough to secure the entire structure and stop any movement. Even when we go through and take off all the 70 temp bracing that we have on, we will need to take that stuff off and use it soon, because that material is there for the battens. First one will be 5377, please, Mitter. With the cross braces done and a row of nogs in the middle to hold everything in place, it was time to start doing these battens. I've worked it out, if we do a triple 45 block on one side and a single 45 batten on the other side, that gives us about 1.2 degree of fall. It's going to be a clip lock roof, which only calls for 1 degree of fall, so 1.2 degree is awesome, it's all we need. The first batten I'm doing is the high point of the roof. I'm going to do 1 batten, screw that down, and then we're going to block on top of that, do the top batten, and have a 150mm screw going through all of those blocks, holding them together. We've done all our battens at 900 centers as well, and I've worked out what rips we need to get it to the right height. The boys have gone through, cut all the rips for us, so we're just going to clout them in place and then sit our battens on top and screw everything down. So close to being done, but we've just run out of 2 lengths of battens, so I'm just going to run and get 2 more, and then the job can be done. Back at site now, 3 PM. We're hoping to be packing up by now, but this should take 5 minutes to finish off the job. The boys jumped up and finished off those last few runs of battens, and while they were doing that, I went through and started putting up those screw holes we had for when we had all the temp bracing timbers holding this post in place. This whole pergola is going to get painted, so the clients will probably go through and putty up everything they need, but I'd rather just go through and putty up these holes that we have made. How sturdy is she? That's solid. No movement at all. That's really good. Sweet, so you boys. Yeah, I think that tree branch will have to go. Otherwise, it's going to be just picking up leaf after leaf. Nice. Now, in terms of framing the pergola, this job's done. This is definitely the most basic type of pergola you can frame. Flat roof with a graded battens. Obviously, it's not going to look as great as a pitched pergola. It's something I'm hoping to do in the future. I'd love to do a video on that. There's a lot more carpentry involved, a lot more skill involved. So keep your eyes open. I'll definitely be trying to do one of those jobs soon.